Hello and welcome to our webinar, Will Australians Bounce Back to Pre-COVID Ways? And if you are here, I wonder if you fall into the 49% of Australians who say they have changed the way they connect with others. I know I haven't attended more Zoom meetings literally in my life ever. Today, you're going to hear from Peter Harris, the CEO of Potentiate and lover of cricket, family, and his esteemed butter chicken recipe, which he's been developing in lockdown. We're also going to hear from Lisa Salas, the head of commercial at TEG Insights, our partner, and also the type of person who would deliver red velvet cake to our offices in pre-COVID times. And you'll also hear from me, Emma Clark. I'm an account director at Potentiate, and I've been baking my way through lockdown. Here is the agenda for today. So, we'll start with an introduction from Peter Harris. Then I'll share the results of our syndicated study. Then Lisa will talk a bit about TEG Insights. There will be a Q&A section at the end, so be sure to type your questions into the Q&A tool at the bottom of the screen. And we are recording today, so there will be a recording available. All right, I'm now going to hand it over to Pete.
Thanks, Emma. And isn't it a great time to really be talking to people to try and understand what human beings intend to do, what future behaviour looks like, and what consumption patterns and how people make decisions is going to be. The reality is that we don't really know what's going to happen into the future. And our recent webinar series, What Now and What Next, clearly highlighted the fact that predictions tend to be wrong. But predictions are very important for us to identify because they become the ingredients in the constructions of scenarios. And it's these scenarios that brands really need to consider about possible things that could happen into the future. There are messages in this study, learnings from over 11,000 Australians that brands just can't ignore. And more importantly, brands need to be prepared to listen to customers, to listen to consumers more than ever before, because right now, how people make decisions, what people do, how confident they are about the things that they do, these things are changing weekly. And the truth is, as I said before, no one knows what the future looks like, but it's going to be really interesting to find out what happens for sure. And this study is going a long way to setting that up for everyone. I really want to thank Emma, Sian, and the great team here at Potentiate for putting in the hard yards to deliver this fantastic study. I think it's going to be really useful and couldn't be done without our 12 client partners who really trusted us and believed in us doing this large undertaking. And of course, a big thank you to Lisa Salas and the great team at TEG Insights for not only their support in this study, but for the 10 years of solid partnership that they've provided for us. I really hope you enjoy the findings of this study. We're going to be here at the end for questions and encourage discussion around the outcomes that we're going to be talking about. But now over to you, Emma, to talk about what we learned.
Thanks, Pete. So, what did we do? We spoke to over 11,000 Australians on 18 insight communities, combined with nationally representative data provided by TEG Insights. For this syndicated study, we asked Australians about their current behaviours in lockdown and their mindset going into the future post-COVID. And here are some of the fantastic brands that took part in this syndicated research study. A big thank you goes out to each and every one of them. Thank you for taking part. So before we launch into the results, here's a reminder of how restrictions looked by state when the study was conducted. Queenslanders could shop for non-essential items, visit cafes with no more than 20 people, and have up to 5 adults over from different households. Picnics and weekend drives to national parks were allowed, and up to 10 people could gather outside and can engage in outdoor, non-contact sport or training. In New South Wales, it was largely the same, apart from only allowing 10 people in cafes and restaurants, and a tighter restriction on travelling for a holiday. ACT had largely the same rules as New South Wales, same with South Australia, same with Tasmania. In Northern Territory, they had similar rules, but were also able to visit nightclubs, gyms, and get beauty treatments. In Victoria, restrictions were tighter, with no cafes or restaurants able to take seated customers, and there was no ability to travel for a holiday or to go camping. However, Western Australians enjoyed the most significant easing of lockdown laws, 20 people were able to gather indoors or outdoors and visit cafes or restaurants. So it's important to note these differences when looking at the results by state. And what did we find out about Australians? Well, they have a strong desire to get back to the old normal. When it comes to online shopping, although they are doing more of it now, they are likely to return to brick and mortar later. When it comes to hobbies, DIY, and exercise, although they are doing more of it now, they are likely to return to pre-COVID levels as restrictions ease. Businesses need to be ready to act fast and retain new customers. When it comes to travel, however, many feel uncertain. Over a third don't know if or when they will feel comfortable travelling internationally again. We asked Australians if they did more retail, online shopping, use of food delivery services, hobbies, DIY or exercise during lockdown compared to pre-COVID. And the data suggests that younger Aussies have really adapted their behaviour. So you can see this chart splits it out between 18 to 44 and 45 plus. And you can see that a lot of the younger people spent more time doing hobbies or DIY, doing online retail shopping, using food delivery services. We then asked Australians if they do more of these things in the future post-COVID versus how they behaved pre-COVID. And as you can see, many have the mindset that they will do more exercise, but don't think they'll continue with their hobbies or online shopping. As you can see, brands who have had more orders during lockdown will need to convince new customers to stay. Some of the exercise brands that have done well have set up a new way of doing exercise outside of gyms and will need to convince people not to return to the brick and mortar of pre-COVID times. Here are the two in comparison. Brands which have flourished during lockdown will need to convince customers to stay in the future. We also asked Australians about their level of spending now and in the future, and the data suggests that Aussies expect to ease their lockdown cutbacks. This chart shows that 54% said their current level of spending is less than pre-COVID. Compare that to in the future. 54% say they'll spend the same as pre-COVID. So currently they're spending less, but in the future they expect to revert back to the same spending as before lockdown. Note that this chart excludes those who said don't know or not applicable. But this picture largely holds true irrespective of gender, age, employment status, or state. So the takeout is it's important for businesses to be aware that some people are coming out of a period of frugality. Aussies are connecting differently, delaying purchases and starting something new. 2/3 of 18 to 24s versus 1/3 of 65 plus have changed the way they connect with others. One member actually said they've been going for morning walks and video chatting or talking on the phone more to family members who live abroad or in other suburbs. And that was definitely a quote that I could relate to. About 1/3 have delayed big ticket items, and the effect is largely amongst the younger age categories. And not surprisingly, it's families with young children and those in part-time or casual work who have signed up for new entertainment services. Consider that as our behaviours begin to revert back to pre-COVID ways, so too will our choices. It will be important for brands to review the ways they connect with customers and reinforce value to retain them. A third say there's nothing they've done during lockdown that they look forward to continuing. Safe to say, I've reserved puzzles strictly to 2 time periods, lockdown or Christmas time. To delve into this in more depth, we took one of the open-end questions which asked Australians, is there anything that you have really valued or done differently during lockdown that you will aim to continue once restrictions are lifted? And we analysed the verbatims using a text analytics tool called Capiche. Here you can see that 34% of those aged 45 plus have done nothing differently during lockdown that they aim to continue. One person said, apart from social distancing, nothing done differently to continue once restrictions are lifted. The younger groups have a stronger intention to keep spending quality time with their families after restrictions are lifted. When it comes to exercise, some mentioned that they hope to maintain their running routines, and others mentioned they'd like to spend less money on unnecessary things. And how comfortable do they feel returning to normality? We asked Australians when they'll feel comfortable doing the following activities. This chart shows the time periods of as soon as possible, 1 to 3 months, 4+ months, and so on at the top, with the various activities on the left. While 2/3 are keen to get back to the office, travel is the last thing on their mind. Interestingly, those from South Australia, Western Australia, and ACT are more comfortable resuming activities sooner. In fact, those from ACT are more comfortable with starting domestic travel, perhaps because it was one of the states which had the lowest incidence of COVID-19. Two things came out of the verbatims for this state. They are eager to get back to the beach, and they are eager to visit family interstate. Again, we analysed this open-end question using the text analytics tool Capiche. We asked Australians what you are most looking forward to after isolation restrictions are lifted. And the data suggests that face-to-face human contact is what people are most looking forward to when restrictions are eased. One member said they were looking forward to visiting my daughter and granddaughter in their new house in Melbourne. Another said they're looking forward to brunch at a cafe, super pumped for that eggs Benny. And another said getting back to some sort of normality. One of the benefits of a syndicated study with a huge sample size is the ability to report on harder to reach groups like younger people and those living in Tasmania. One interesting insight we found was that Tasmanians want to wait a bit longer before eating out or commencing domestic travel. Overall, businesses should consider reassuring employees and customers as they look to a future where they can travel safely again. When returning to work, Aussies expect precautionary measures and flexibility, but more oppose than support the wearing of masks. And we found that this is actually true across the board. People in general are keen on more health precautions and flexibility, regardless of if they are self-employed in full-time, part-time, or casual work. So, in summary, Aussies indicate a strong desire for life to return to normal. We're looking forward to getting back to restaurants, cafes, and shops. I know I certainly am. Younger Aussies have adapted their behaviour during lockdown more so than older Aussies. And whether it's for business or pleasure, travel is one area where most Aussies share concerns. We expect a new normal when it comes to returning to work. So, what next? Brands should prepare for a return to bricks and mortar. Some online brands will need to keep relevant. Likewise, brands in fitness, hobby, or DIY will need to convince us to keep up new behaviours and stick to intentions. Consider how to increase comfort for customers and employees, especially those who may be required to travel and work in various locations. And reassure employees and customers as they look to return to work and life by respecting their need for health precautions, distancing, and a desire for more flexibility. So, if you have any questions, now's the time to type them in the Q&A box and we'll answer them in a moment. While you share your questions, we'll hear from Lisa Salas, who's going to talk a little bit about TEG insights. Over to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Emma. Some great insights on how we will bounce back from COVID-19. I, for one, cannot wait for the day where I can sit in Giant Stadium or travel to the MCG or Adelaide Oval to watch the AFL live. So just a little bit about TG and our panel members who completed this survey while you're all typing in your questions. TG is Asia Pacific's leading ticketing, live entertainment, digital and data analytics company. Some brands within TG that you may be aware of are Ticketek, #1 event ticketing and digital marketing company in Australia and New Zealand. TEG Dainty, one of the top 3 global promoters of Tier 1 live entertainment. And my personal favorite for fellow adult fans of Lego, Brickman, the creator of premier interactive Lego and exhibitions. So TG Insights sits under the digital and data arm of the business, managing one of the largest panels across Australia and New Zealand. Off the back of over 16 million active customers from the ticketing and live entertainment businesses, TG Insights have recruited people to join our online panels. We have over 1 million members on our access panels across Australia and New Zealand. Now, just to illustrate the diversity of our data source, if you think about it, each event attracts its own unique set of people from all walks of life and ages. I'm not sure if you've ever looked around a concert or an event and gone, wow, that is an amazing variety of people. And then each of those people come with their unique interests, economic and cultural backgrounds. Now, for joining our online panels, our members earn rewards for completing online surveys or completing the profile modules so that we can have a deeper understanding of each person. Now, as Peter mentioned earlier, TG Insights have been a proud partner of Potentiate for the last 10 years. We provide Potentiate and their clients access to people for research outside of their own client partner communities, but more importantly, we're willing and able collaborators on insightful market-wide projects such as this. Now back to Emma for the Q&A.